Just over 1 month ago, I celebrated a full 10 years of sobriety. Guess I may have to change the VO on my little intro there because it's no longer nearly a decade. I wanted a little time to go by before I reflected on this. Hard to do it in the moment, so gonna take a look back at 10 years as well as a look back on the past year, since we're now into 2022, 1 year of this channel existing. Update you guys a little bit on some really new developments and look into the future as well. Let's get into it.
I'm JT. I'm in my mid-30s, have a 10-year media career, and nearly a decade of sobriety. So how did another middle-class kid turn into a blackout drunk and a heroin junkie? More importantly, how did it change, and where do we go from here? This is my story.
December 20th, 2011. That was the day I got sober. And December 20th of 2021, of course, for you at home who are like me and not so great at math, that was 10 years. And I really wanted to do a video. I kind of wanted to do one like on the day or the day before, release it that day. But because of a few different circumstances, I didn't do that. And I'm really glad that I didn't now, because I'm able to look back on this past year, really the past couple years, right? COVID, my breakup, that's really been the past 2 years of my life. And then this past year of doing this channel. And I realize, and I think you can see this in a couple of my recent videos, I kind of have been in a funk for really the past couple years. That doesn't mean I didn't achieve things. I did. I had probably the best on paper year of my career last year, probably maybe the best on paper 2 years consecutively of my career over the past 2 years. Probably also the worst 2 years of my personal life since I've been sober. We'll get into that a little bit as we move forward, but the positive. I'm really glad that I did wait. I was kind of in that funk, especially through December. I did have a little time off, and I swore I was going to do all these videos and everything, especially the 10-year video. And I kind of couldn't bring myself to do it. Again, something we'll dive into a little bit later. But I'm really glad that it happened that way, because it's been a month since that 10-year. And I think now I'm able to look at it in a much clearer lens, in a better lens to do this right now. And I hope if you know me, you know that this is not about gloating. If anything, it's about looking back in amazement at how I could be so fortunate, how I could have this gift from God, close family members, loved ones, and the sober people around me who have lifted me up into this position. And it's really amazing to look back at who I was 10 years ago. And I've been doing a lot of this over the past several weeks, because around that 10-year mark, I was going into a lot of rooms and sharing my story, sharing the 10-year experience. And it's just amazing. I go back to, and you can feel free to watch the first video on this channel where I go through my story, and a little bit later into that video talk about the burning bush moment that I had that led me to sobriety. And I just think about that and being in that motel room with no money left to my name and thinking that was going to be the last night of my life, being ready to die and being spoken to in a way that I had never felt. And it was immaterial. It was not of this world. And knowing or believing for the first time in my life that maybe it was going to be okay, and that maybe I was going to be able to try this life of sobriety. Granted, I was high, so it could have been the drugs talking, but usually the drugs aren't the ones that give you that sort of clarity. Not the drugs I was doing at the time, not heroin. Don't give you that sort of clarity going into rehab the very next day or shortly thereafter. And I think I can narrow it down to a couple really key things. And I've touched on all these things before, but just having the time and the emotion to to objectively look at what has been 10 years, I'm big on being concise, believe it or not. I know I can talk a lot and be pretty wordy, but I do believe in trying to pare it down, whether I'm writing or talking on the radio or speaking to you, to as concise a message as possible. And it's really hard to do, especially for someone like me early on in sobriety. We just want to throw it all out there. And I think what I can narrow it down to is, number one, I had such great examples of sobriety in my life. I had examples of alcoholism and drug addiction, but I had some really key examples of sobriety working in my life. I had my grandfather, who had basically been sober my entire life, my mother, who had been sober mostly my entire life, and my best friend, who got sober just a couple short years before I did. And that was so, so important, and I think really key to why I was able to get it fast and able to make it these 10 years without a slip. A lot of people don't have that luxury. And I preface that because I think it's important, because I don't share the perspective of someone who doesn't have those examples around them and is just climbing uphill the whole way with no support except for whoever they may meet inside of recovery. So very fortunate to have that. And then the other thing that I was able to latch on to really early in sobriety was Regiment Discipline. And again, can't credit myself for this. It came from being around recovery, being around people who had discipline. I didn't have discipline or Regiment my entire life. I look back now and realize I was really craving it for most of my life and just purposefully not going after it or not having the right modeling around me to get it. And I figured it out, again, not of my own doing, a little bit. I had to take the steps, but things just sort of fell right for me to get some discipline early in sobriety. And while I falter plenty, and we'll talk about some of that in this very video, pretty much since that time, I have built upon, it started with a little bit, just enough to stay sober, to where now I feel, and I feel I can still get a lot better, but I feel like my discipline and Regiment is my whole life. And I'm so thankful for that and so grateful for that. And that really has made my sobriety. The other thing, again, that I cannot take credit for, being in that motel room and having a God that I didn't understand, a higher power that was not the higher power that I had been raised on, that I rejected, speak to me, reveal himself to me in a way that I couldn't have predicted, that no one in my life, that no one whose experience of God could convey to me up to that point, that would put this belief in me to get me through. Because I saw so many people early on in recovery, and I see so many people now early on in recovery that struggle so much with the God thing. And I've told you before, my God is not very dense. My God, my higher power, who's not exactly your God. He's not exactly the God from any book that you've read or may be very closely familiar with. It's my higher power. And there's not a lot of bullet points. And that's just kind of the way it's shaken out for me, but it works. And I'm so thankful that higher power spoke to me that night and continued to speak to me early on and continues to work through others and through my life today to allow me this life that I have now. And the other thing, of course, is my life got good, right? My life got better really fast and has since then gotten better and better and better. Not without hiccups, not without big bumps, not without periods that we have discussed on this channel that I probably should have relapsed. And there will be more. But because of all those things, I'm here today. And I'm really thankful for 10 years. I remember early on when I started, I couldn't fathom 10 years. I knew because I had enough education about alcoholism and about sobriety that I knew that it was kind of a forever thing. It was like, this is my journey. If it is, then it is. If I am an alcoholic, if I need this sort of treatment, whatever it may be, I'm not just going to wake up one day and it's going to be gone and I can drink or use moderately. It's going to be an everyday thing. Whether I succeed or not, it's going to be there. So I could never really fathom 10 years. I remember being early in sobriety and thinking, if I could just get to 1 year, I feel like I would have something to offer in recovery. If I could just get to one. And I really focused on just listening during that first year. I talked, of course, but I didn't have a ton of confidence, and I knew how likely it was that I wasn't going to make a year at first. And so I really sat back a lot. And I think that has allowed me to become more and more open with it as the time has gone on. And I think it's unfolded exactly how it was supposed to. I really do, because now we're at this point where like all my dirty laundry is out there. Anyone can see it. Anyone can come to this channel. Pretty much everyone who listens to me on the radio has some idea of my story now. And it wasn't that way for a long time. At first, I didn't even feel comfortable talking within recovery. And for a long time, I didn't want to share it, because as soon as I share it, and I'm sure everyone would have been supportive that I shared it to, but as soon as I do that, then there's this sort of weight, or from my perspective, there would be this sort of weight of, well, now I can't fall. It had to be getting to the point where I am now, where I'm comfortable. I don't believe I'm going to fall, and if I do, I feel okay that I can share these experiences, and I feel called to do this thing that I'm doing right here. So very grateful for the 10 years. Never could have imagined what 10 years would look like. It's funny, I was also thinking, if you would have told me, I don't know, in college or in high school, JT, you are going to be 35, you're going to be single, you're going to be in the best shape of your life, you're going to have a great career with a house and a car and money in the bank and all these opportunities, I would have at the time been like, I've hit the lottery. I'm going out every night. I've got this awesome social life and romantic life, and I'm killing it. And of course, I would think at the time, I'm having a good time. And what's so funny is all those things are true that I set this up with, but I'm 10 years sober. I have a just rotten social life, but it's mine and I'm okay with it. And I'm of course sober. And that's the reason that I have all the other things. It's so funny. But again, just very, very grateful to be here. I have no idea what's in store for the next year or 10 years, God willing, or any going forward, but I'm grateful. I'm incredibly grateful. And so as I look back on the past couple years, and I talked about, I guess I've kind of been in this funk, and numerous times I feel like on this channel, I've gone over, here's what I'm really trying to get through. Here is what my struggle is to get to the next step. Most specifically to this channel, I was having trouble just getting these videos filmed and shot and edited and posted with all the other stuff going on in my life. And not to mention numerous other things that I want to achieve, and I should have no excuse because I have no one to manage right now but myself. I have no relationship, I have no kids, so I should be able to get these things done, but I've been really struggling to until the past several weeks when the new year turned over. I felt spoken to achieve the things that I've been wanting to achieve and get over the humps that I've been wanting to get over. I just kept thinking about intention and everything in my life that I've been successful at, including this sobriety. I have to do it with intention. And to do something with intention, I have to dig deeper on the tools that I know work, like Regiment Discipline, right? So I've talked about, it's so hard for me to get enough sleep, and I'm so good at waking up before the crack of dawn Monday through Friday, but then I could never get up early enough on Saturday or Sunday. I'm dragging ass the whole day, and then I waste these days and I don't get video done, etc., etc. Well, I just started being disciplined to turn the new year over on when I'm going to bed every night and forcing myself to it and just taking the tools and resources that I know work for me and just extrapolating them out a little bit more and adding them to these other areas of my life, which would seem simple enough since I've done it before, that I would know how to do it for this. But that is the thing about being an alcoholic and a drug addict and a codependent and a love and sex addict. I don't learn the lessons that I know work so well. That's just part of the bag. I have to keep learning them over and over again if I am going to make it through this thing. And so I've learned them again, and I've had a really awesome month. I've had just such an incredible month. I've done everything with intention, and I haven't gotten sidetracked as much. And I'm getting more sleep during the week, and I'm waking up earlier on the weekend, and I've carved out more time for my life. Something that's just on paper seems so simple, again, but I just couldn't get past it. I would look in this camera and go, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know how I'm going to get past this thing. And really all it took was like doing some simple tasks that I have to do every day at a different time and getting my ass up off my couch an hour earlier to get ready for bed. And the reading and the inventory and the journaling and the meditating and like it's all coming together in the video filming and editing. And yeah, I've had to farm out some other things to take off my plate in my personal life that I'm okay with because I feel so much better. But it's made me so excited. It's made me better suited to do this video that I felt was important to look back on 10 years. And it makes me feel so optimistic about what this year is going to entail, which, by the way, has nothing to do with my career or my love life or anything. It just has to do with the things that I want to achieve with intention in my personal life, which includes making sure I'm getting my recovery, which I've been on a great roll with to coincide with these changes that I've made. And I'm really, really thrilled about it. So I walk into 2022 with a lot of optimism. And I think I probably should have some optimism because I just celebrated 10 years. But man, it's a lot less about looking back on this past year, which despite achieving some really great things, a year of doing this channel, something I didn't even know if I could do. And just a month ago was struggling and didn't know what the future of it was going to be. And now I'm just looking forward so much to what's to come. So that's 10 years. That's right now. That's me looking forward to the next year and hopefully the next 10 as well. Let's get the mail. Mail today comes from a dear friend. This comes from a post on Instagram that I did about my 10 years. And this is from Lane Says Hello. And Lane, I have known since we were 12, 13 years old. She's an incredible woman who has gone through an incredible spiritual transformation of her own over the past few years. And I just love seeing what she's doing. And Lane says, in response to my 10-year post, go JT. And she's sweet to call me by my public name since she has known me most of my life by my government name. I've been working on my addiction, so thank you for being a public resource. Quote, nothing to understand, everything to accept. Congrats on 10 years. God is good. Perhaps I should know this quote a little bit better, and I'm going to be really embarrassed if it comes from my club's little book, but I don't remember seeing it before. It's fantastic. Nothing to understand, everything to accept. I could probably spend another half hour breaking that thing down. But I think if you are watching this channel, you get everything that is in those 6 little words right there. My whole life is being in acceptance. I was just having a text conversation with my dad about applying the whole acceptance thing to our just mind-numbingly frustrating football team that I've decided I'm better off without. They're a health risk to me and those around me. But again, intention, right? What are the things I can pull out of my life that may cause me joy and excitement, but also cause these kind of awful mood swings that are present in every bad part of my life in my past, like bad relationships and drug addiction and alcoholism, all this other stuff. But acceptance is where it all lands, right? Acceptance. That's what we always keep coming back to. So Lane, thank you so much for the congrats. I appreciate it. It has been a joy for me to watch your journey as well. And I'm thankful that you are out there just as I am. I get a lot of comfort from you commenting. And by the way, I get comfort from all of your comments. Reminder, I post this on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all that stuff. And I take from wherever it goes, including these videos right here, and I see all of them. And I go back and check all of them for now. It's this operation's small right now, so I can see everything. But I get a lot out of that. So please continue to contribute, and I will use it for the mail, of course, if you are comfortable enough with it. And if anything, it just helps me a lot. So if you would like to contribute, you can, of course, comment on any of my social feeds. I've got them listed below. You can comment right here in the video, or as I always say, you can feel free to send a DM if you would like to have a private conversation. And if it just happens that DM is so special, I think it needs to be used on the mail, I promise I will ask before doing so. Any comment that comes on a public post is fair game. That's all the time we got for today. I'm really thankful, again, blessed for 10 years, blessed that you've been on this journey with me now for a year on this channel, and I'm really optimistic about where it's going from here and what we all have in store for 2022. We'll see you next time. Hey family, if you like what we're doing here and you want to see more, please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. Share it with someone who you think might benefit from watching this. And feel free to comment below. Love.